Welcome to the new lesson of Microsoft Excel. So today we're going to show you some basic, or let's say top Microsoft Excel tips and tricks, which is going to help you with saving a lot of time and also showing you how you can do your work without a lot of hassle. Okay, so let's start off without any further ados. So the first trick will be, or the tips, which will be office.com. Let's say you don't have Microsoft Excel, or let's say Microsoft PowerPoint, Word, or even more Outlook, okay? And you don't have any of that installed in your PC. So you don't have to worry about any of those. Just go to your website or your web browser and then just search office.com, and it will take you directly to their site, and you have to sign in or log in, as I already have it logged in, so I didn't have to log in. So what you're gonna do is just sign up or log in, and then you will be able to use any of the apps or any of the software which you can see right here. Let's say I want to use Microsoft Word, and let's say I want to use Excel. You can just select on whichever one you want. It will also connect to your OneDrive, and make sure to connect to your Microsoft account. And when you click on this new blank workbook, you will see that it will take some time, and then you can directly work on this worksheet, and it will also save on your Microsoft account. So this is the first tip of how you can save up a lot of time without downloading Microsoft Excel. But I prefer you all download or keep Microsoft Excel or Microsoft 365, which I most of the time use. Make sure to use the newer versions of Microsoft Excel, because the older versions does not have a lot of data or a lot of information or tools which you're going to need nowadays, and which is going to save a lot of time. Now let's move on to the second tip. So now the second tip will be defining name for cells. So let's try using a function. Okay, so I'm gonna do is type in equal. So I'm gonna do is find out the sales. Okay, but what I'm gonna do right here is, let's say I want to just minus this and this. Okay, so I'm gonna do is equal, selecting this, and then what I'm gonna do is put in a minus sign and then selecting this and then hitting enter, and that will be the amount of the result. Okay, but if I don't want that, what I want to do is, let's say I want to minus all of these at the same time, but I'm not gonna even use the fill header. Well, I will get back to that later on, but this time I'm gonna define names. So what I'm gonna do here is go to data, and after going to data, what I'm gonna do is define their name. So if I want to define their name, what you're gonna do is first select on it. Okay, select the cells. After selecting the cells, you can do is, let's stay on formulas, which we can also do that. So I'm gonna do is, let's say I want to investment, so the investment should be going to formulas. I'm gonna define their names. Let's say the defining name should be investment. And now what I'm gonna do is do the same thing over here, select all of those, define names. Let's say the sales, enter. This time what I'm gonna do right here is stay on this cell, type in equal, which I'm gonna do is type in investment, as you can see right over here. I'm gonna double click on it, and then minus, I'm gonna do is type in sales, as you can see right over here, just as I saved them. So I'm gonna do is type in just enter, and you will see that this will be the amount. As I've did this, so I'm gonna do is what I did was select all of it, but I have to select only the data, define invest, select this, and define name, which is gonna be sales. Okay, and now you will see that if you type in the names, let's type in just sale. This time there will be no error. So I'm going to do is type in investment minus, I'm going to do is type in sale, just the sale, hit enter, and that is going to show me the results. Okay, so this is the second tip or trick which I wanted to show you guys. Now the next one will be absolute and relative cell reference. So the absolute and relative cell reference works in a way which is really important. Well, you can see that there are a lot of cells over here. Okay, but here what you're gonna do is, let's say let's type in some percentage over here. Let's say 10%. Okay, I'm gonna keep it right over here. So as you can see that relative reference is like all of the cells, okay? But when you say absolute cell reference, it's gonna be like this, just the specific cell which you select. Let's say this one, it's gonna be this, which is gonna be G8, and none of the value is gonna pass through G8, like from G8 to G9, okay? But it's still gonna stay there on G8. So if it's staying on G8, what I'm gonna do right here is, let's say I'm gonna type in equal. So I'm gonna do it right over here to get not this one. What I'm gonna do is type in this one, equal. Now what I'm gonna do is, let's say I wanna like multiply all of these, okay, which is gonna be 427. So I'm gonna do is type in equal and then select the cell and then multiply it by this one. Hit enter, and that is going to be the result, okay? But now what I'm going to do is use the fill header and do this. As you can see, the values are 0. Why is it 0? You can, when you select on this, you can see the cell which is selected was J3, okay? But for this one it's going to be J4, for this one it's going to be J5, for this one it's going to be J5, or whichever one you select, okay? So but I don't want that, but I want the answers, okay? But I want it to lock it. So as this is cell reference, I'm gonna do another thing to like show you another example of relative reference. So I'm gonna do is type in the same thing. So I'm gonna do is like this plus this one. When I click on it, this will be false. Why is it false? Because there's a problem with it. Type in plus and then select this one, enter, and that is going to be the answer. Now if I use the fill header, you can see all of the values are now adding up according to the column. But when I use this cell, you can see the values are different. Also, the cells which I selected next are changing one by one. Why is that happening? Because that is still turning on relative reference, but I don't want relative reference there, so I'm going to use absolute cell reference here. So if I want to use absolute cell reference, I'm going to do is delete all of them again. And this time, just as you can see, when I select this, these two cells are selected, but I only applied the formula over here. And then when I use the fill header, and this applied the whole thing according to the rows and columns. But now I'm gonna do is type in equal. Let's say I'm gonna do it right over here. I'm gonna do is type in equal, and then I'm gonna type like select investment. And I'm gonna do is multiply it by 10%. But this one I'm gonna do absolute cell reference. So to turn on absolute cell reference, what I'm gonna do is just click on F4. When I click on F4, now you can see both the column and row is now selected. So I'm gonna type in enter, and that is gonna be the result. Now if I use the fill header, you will see datas will appear up. Why is there now datas? Because now it's selecting only this cell, but it's not moving from here to here according to this column. So when I select on this, you can see that these are selected. See, this one is moving, but this one is not. So only you can see that this one is like absolute and this one is not absolute. Okay, also works on this one. So that is gonna be the third tip, how you can like use the absolute and cell reference or relative reference in Microsoft Excel. Now the next one is gonna be how you can add or do stuffs or like improve your work using a macro. So what is a macro? So let's say, what is a macro? A macro is, let's say, a programming language which is gonna help you, or recording, when you record a macro, it's gonna help you save a lot of time by doing all of the work on itself, by copying or like imitating all of the process you do in Microsoft Excel. Now let's say what I'm gonna do right here is type in some names. Okay, so if I do that, what I'm gonna do right here is, let's say I'm gonna type in this names again. I'm gonna paste it over here, Control V, and I want some datas over here. Let's say the sales, Control C. I'm gonna paste it right over here. Okay, now if I want to add in more names, let's say I'm gonna add in more names. Let's say M Mordell, and I'm gonna type in is Whaley. Now Richie, Jackie, and Lee. Now I'm gonna put the same data for these guys too. Control C and then Control V. Well, as you can see that this is taking a lot of time, and if I want to add in more names and add in the data, it's going to take a lot of time. So I don't want to do any of those. So what I'm going to do is use the help of Microsoft macros or Microsoft Excel macros. So if you want to turn on or use recording a macro, what I'm going to do is go to developer mode. When I go to developer mode, you can see in the code section there is a option called macros and record macro. So what I'm gonna do right here is, let's say I'm gonna record a macro. So if you want to record a macro, just click on it and it will start recording a macro. It's gonna open a pop-up and then ask for your requirements. But before that, what I'm gonna do here for this lesson is gonna be using relative reference, because when you use just record macro, it's gonna use absolute cell reference, just as I showed over here. So if you don't want to lock in your cell, what you're gonna do is click on using cell reference. Just click on it, just as I clicked on it. Now I'm gonna do is record macro. Now I'm gonna do is, let's say I'm gonna name it names. Now you can also assign a shortcut key according to your macro, so you can just apply it. So I'm going to paste Control J and I'm going to save it in this workbook. You can also save it in new workbook or personal macro workbook. So I'm going to use it as in this workbook. So I'm going to just press OK. Now as it is done, now it's also, you can see it's starting to record. Now what I'm going to do is, let's say I only want a data for Whaley. So I'm going to do is, let's say Whaley. Now if I want for Whaley, I'm going to do is use the fill header and then make 3 data for Whaley. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and now what I'm gonna do is, let's say from here I only want these 3%, or let's say the 3 numbers which I'm gonna apply. Okay, I'm gonna do is copy all of these, Control C, Shift. Now I'm gonna do is Control C and then paste it right over here. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is stop recording the macros. Now you will see some of the the codes or the progress has been recorded. So I'm gonna do is type in Lee right here. After I type in Lee, I don't want to paste in the data individually, like using the fill header and then like copying the data. So I'm gonna do is just press Control J. What I'm gonna do is apply Control J. Runtime error, my bad. I'm gonna do is go to macros and then click on names and run it. So if it's like a problem here, what you can do is do a lot of stuff. You don't need to do this because this is gonna take a lot of time, or this is gonna get like more complex. So if you don't want to do that, what you're gonna do is just press Control J. And you can see some of the data have now been pasted. Why is it pasted here? Because it has been debugged. Okay, so you might face that problem sometimes, but you don't have to worry about it, because I'm going to show it like how you will face those or not face those problems. So I'm going to do is select on using cell reference. I'm going to do is record the macro again. This time I'm going to macro 2. Now if I did that, so I'm going to do is type in Lee, and I'm going to use the fill header. And I'm gonna do is type in or use some of these sales, Control C, and type in for Lee. That will be it. So I don't need this, and that will be it. Stop using reference. So I'm gonna do is type in, let's say I want to do that again, just press Control J or whichever macro you run in. So I'm gonna do is go to macro and then run it, and you will see that all of the data has now been again placed in, and with all of the data which you needed. Okay, and all of the process will be done. And another thing you have to keep in mind, that you can do a lot more progress or a lot more stuff with by recording a macro and then working with it. Now the last thing what I'm going to show you is the sum function, so which is one of my favorite function in Microsoft Excel. It is like really easy. So let's say I'm going to do is I need a total amount, so I'm going to do is type on equal sum and then open parentheses, select all of them, close the parentheses, hit enter, and that will be it. Another thing what you can do is, what I'm going to show you is the tips, which I'm going to do is make a table first and then get the total out of there. Click on table. Okay, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to do is select the table. After selecting the table, go to table design, and now I want the total row. Now as you can see, it has already given me a total row of it without even using the sum. Now you can also change the number or change the values. Let's say I want this one. So what type of value you want? Let's say I want the average, so I can also select the average from here. If I want, let's say I want the minimum number, I can also do that. I can also get the sum. Okay, so these are some of the tips and tricks in Microsoft Excel which will help you a lot in day-to-day use. So hope you guys understood everything, and thank you for watching this video.